All right, my students, here is the first of a couple of videos from the comprehensive review about the MP3 Marking Period 3 test coming up soon. So number one, you need to know your unit circle, right? So be able to make the first quadrant of the unit circle. Hopefully you know how to do this. Okay, for our first quadrant is here, right? We have a couple of angles. We have 30 degrees or pi over 6. We have 45 degrees or pi over 4. And we have 60 degrees or pi over 3. And of course 90 degrees, which is pi over 2. So our coordinates are 1, 0. And then root 3 over 2 and 1/2 is the first one. And then the 45 degrees are the same, root 2 over 2. Okay, and then we move up to the 60 degrees where they switch. Now we have 1/2 and root 3 over 2, right? So this is the switch of the 60 degrees. And then 0, 1 is your 90 degree angle. And on the second quadrant, the x's are negative and the y's are positive. In the third quadrant, everything is negative. And in the fourth quadrant, the x values are positive and the y values are negative. Okay, so hopefully you have that. There might be a unit circle on your piece of paper to look at. So know that the x's are the cosines and the y's are the sines. So the sine at 5 pi over 6, right? This is a second quadrant angle where the sine is positive and it has the same y value as pi over 6. Right? All of the pi over 6's have the same coordinates. Okay, moving on. Where is the sign? Where is the sign going to be negative root 3 over 2? So sign is negative in the third quadrant and in the fourth quadrant. So let's see, where are the angles where sine is negative root 3 over 2? Sine is root 3 over 2 here at the pi over 3's. So in the third quadrant, that's going to be, let's see, 4 pi over 3 is a third quadrant angle, and 5 pi over 3 is the fourth quadrant angle. Okay, so we're finding the angles where? So this is where the cosecant. Remember, the cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine, which is this. So if the cosecant is root 2, that means the sine was root 2 over 2. So if the sine is positive, that means this is going to happen in the first and the second quadrant. So that happens at 1 pi over 4 and at 3 pi over 4. Okay, so we're using our unit circle in order to figure out where all these angles are. The angle where the sine has this value. And this one happens to be at 3 pi over 2. Right, that's the 270 degrees. That's where sine is negative 1. Here's a little solving. So we have to add 1 first to both sides. 2 cosine equals 1, divide by 2. We're looking for all the angles where the cosine is positive 1/2. Okay, so the first quadrant, that happens at pi over 3 again. So the first quadrant angle is pi over 3, and the fourth quadrant angle is 5 pi over 3, because the cosine is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. Okay, a little solving. We'll subtract 1. Root 3 cotan equals negative 1. We will divide by root 3. Then we have some simplifying to do. So the radical comes on top and it goes away from the bottom. That's our little math hack that we've talked about many times. So where is the cotan negative root 3 over 3? Well, cotan is x over y, which means this was negative root 3 over 2. No, switch that. This was 1/2 over root 3 over 2. So where is the x value 1/2 and the y value root 3 over 2? The x value 1/2, the y value root 3 over 2. Oh, that's the pi over 3's again. Okay, so cotan is negative in the second quadrant and in the fourth quadrant, because that's where sine and cosine have opposite signs. One's positive and one's negative. So in the second quadrant, that would be 2 pi over 3. And in the fourth quadrant, that would be 5 pi over 3. Okay, so hopefully you know your unit circle in order to solve these. Oh, okay, here's a sine squared. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. We're still going to start off by solving it normal, right? We're going to get everything away from the trig word. So divide by 4, divide by 4. Sine squared equals 1/2. Now we solve a square by square rooting. Remember, the square root is the last thing that you want to do to these problems. So that gets rid of the square, but the sign stays. Now, when we take the square root of a fraction, we can root the top and root the bottom separately, and we always get positives and negatives. Okay, so the square root of 1 is just 1, and we can simplify this into root 2 over 2. So we're looking for all the angles on the unit circle where sine has positive or negative root 2 over 2 as the answer. Okay, and that happens at all the pi over 4. So pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, and 7 pi over 4. Okay, when you solve by square rooting, you get positives and negatives. Don't forget about that. And then this one is the same answer. It's where the cosine is also positive and negative root 2 over 2. It's very similarly done to the previous one. So we're just going to go with all the same answers as over here. Okay, so there's your unit circle, right? All of your solving trig equations and things, stuff that you need to know in order to be successful on this retest. Okay, bring a unit circle.